the table, drinks in the air. Welcome to the podcast with the perfect pair. From the fell to the bar, we're keeping it live. Crisp poker, good times, and a whiskey on ice. Grab a drink, call a raise, and let's shuffle up and deal. This is Cards and Cocktails.
Welcome, everyone, to Cards and Cocktails. It's a new kind of podcast. We go a little quicker, ask some fun questions. This one's a little different, though. We're going to have a podcast with just Skull and I. No guests. Normally, we have a guest. Skull.
You're a little close to me, buddy.
It's
all right.
We've been close before.
Down underneath the bunker, 60 feet below, like the old days.
Skull.
Isn't that funny how some people come, back a couple years ago at least, still today, some people come, we're like, where were you guys sitting before? You always say you guys were below ground and you were in this luxurious bunker.
Had a hot tub in there.
It used to be the size of basically where we are right now. That's where we used to commentate from.
And it's funny, we're right here at Odds Bar and Bistro, which used to be the old lodge, and we might actually be sitting exactly where we were sitting.
Close.
Or within 10 feet of where we were sitting.
I like to say we're sitting right now where the table used to be, which is pretty identical to that, where the players used to play.
The original Table 11, yes. Under the lights.
There you go. Yes.
So, Skull, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, before we get into how we got connected to do the original live stream, which wasn't even a live stream. It was actually a pre-recorded show that we voiced over. But we'll get into that. Before we do, you're originally from Long Island.
Yeah.
You went to Arizona for college.
Correct.
The Wildcats.
Yeah.
But then you found poker. Do you remember the first time you said to yourself, I could be pretty good at this game?
Yeah, well, it was kind of early on. I got introduced to the game through my grandmother. I'm sure true fans of the live stream might have already heard this story, but that was the original moment where I started playing poker, and my grandmother's no longer with us, so also a little touchy subject when we went to have her. She was cremated, and we spread her ashes across the Grand Canyon. So anytime I fly from Texas to Vegas, especially pre-World Series of Poker time, or really any moment, I have a nice little moment to myself on the airplane where I think about my grandmother who introduced me to the game. I was about 13 years old, and then it kind of evolved with my buddies in high school. We used to do just like dollar flips. We wouldn't even really play. We just run out the deck, and then $1 became $5 flips and $20 flips and $100 flips. And then little did you know, we formed a little bankroll from some good allowance, taking out the trash,
Some bar mitzvah money?
Yeah, bar mitzvah money. And then we started playing some 1-2 with the buddies and after school. And I was winning more than my other buddies. So I said, that's pretty cool. I didn't really take poker seriously, though, until I was about we're about 30, late 20s. I would just play a little recreationally. After college, I moved out to Los Angeles, lived there for about 5 years. I play a lot at the Commerce Casino. That was my kind of stomping grounds. But it never got too serious. I was never playing in the biggest of games there. I wasn't much into the online scene when the poker boom was blowing up online. My college roommate was, which is interesting, but I never really enjoyed sitting in front of my computer for hours on end. I never really trusted the security even back then. So I was more of a live player, and it evolved here when we first started to meet up about 6-7 years ago here at the lodge. It's where I really started to evolve my game and take it to another level.
So you moved to Austin from California, and then you found the lodge. Do you remember how you found the lodge? Because the lodge wasn't the only poker club in town.
Well, my wife was actually working a couple miles north of here, and I started to hear some rumors about poker places opening up. At that time, still, when I moved to Austin, I was in my 20s. I had started playing a little bit. So wherever I go from city to city, I'm always kind of researching places to play. And that's kind of how it evolved. And I realized I was close to the lodge where I was living at the time. And so I popped in, got my membership rolling. There was only maybe 1 or 2 tables going consistently at that time. I was one of the early on members. And I've been here ever since.
Yeah, I mean,
What about you? How did you find the lodge?
Yeah, interesting.
You had a part-time gig as a dealer while your son was in college?
Yeah, interesting story. First of all, I'm definitely not a pro. I'm a poker enthusiast. I never have taken the game as serious as probably I should in order to get good, but I come with a few buy-ins, and if I lose those buy-ins, I go home and come back another day.
Storm out of here, super tilted. You're better. You're better.
I'm much better.
You cursed the dealer. You used to.
But I started playing poker
when all the dealers hated you?
They did for a little while, but they love me now.
They do. Yeah.
But I started playing poker in high school. I got involved with my friend's father's game, it's doctor's game, that was one of the longest running consecutive running games in Austin. It started in 1984.
Rounders.
Yeah. It started in 1984. I was 18 years old, and the game continuously runs to this day. Now, I don't play in the game any longer, but imagine that. Every week from 1984 to 2025, this game, it's a 41-year
You still
weekly
see
game.
Some of those players strolling to the lodge occasionally? Was that like David Solomon?
Solomon played in the game. We made a list one time of all the people that played in that game. It was called Doc B's game. And it was well over 1,000 people over the years that played in it. And then we started marking through the people who have died. We had a few guys that went to jail. It was just a great list.
What about the poker hospital? A lot of people go to the poker hospital. They're still living, but they never come back to the room.
Yeah, but these games that they still play, Magical Tens, they play Now and Later. Magical Tens is a numbers game. You get dealt 5 cards. Red cards count 0. The black cards count their denomination. So it's a numbers game, high-low. So you got just a very eclectic. So I played in that game for years. Then how I got involved with the lodge is my son was at the University of Texas down the street.
Hook 'em, right?
Hook 'em horns, baby. And my wife and I, we wanted to give him a gift. We wanted to get him through college without him taking any student loans. And we also didn't want to take any loans. So we had saved enough to get him through about 3 years. And we were at his senior year, and I said, you know what? If I got a little part-time job, we can make this happen, and nobody's taking any loans. Let's do it. And so I originally went to apply at a place, not the lodge. They had hired me, and it turns out they didn't need me after all. So I came over to the lodge. They hired me. I worked as a dealer for basically one shift a week, and I loved it. Got to know Jason, the owner. We called him Leibowitz back in the day. And that's how I got started at the lodge. And I loved poker, and it was a great job, and I earned money. And my son went through UT without any loans. We didn't take any loans, and there you have it.
We took a loan to start this podcast, though, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We did take that loan.
We got to pay that off soon.
But
that's why you got to like and subscribe, guys. Spread the word to anybody who loves poker, loves Slick and I, loves the lodge. So been around for about 5 years now, going strong. We've never been happier, and that's why we wanted to start this endeavor together for you guys watching at home.
Yeah. So we'll talk about how the lodge live stream came to be. A precursor to the live stream was a podcast that I did. I had a radio show here in Austin about high school football for about 10 years. And
what was that one called?
Under the Lights.
Yeah. Shocker.
And so the owner of the lodge at the time, Jason, came to me and said, look, let's do a podcast where you interview famous people in the poker world and a lodge employee or a lodge player, and we'll do a podcast. So this was a non-video podcast.
Called Cards Speak.
Cards Speak. And so I did about 10 episodes. We had Johnny Chan on it. I think I had Brad Owen, Andrew Neeme, Mike Matisow. Chance Corneth. Nate Kogel.
And then
yourself.
One guy called Skull Mike was on there too.
That's where we really connected, and you could see the magic on that episode. I still wish, I don't know what happened to those episodes.
You lost them all?
Lost them all. The guy who was our producer had put them on a platform, and for some reason that we lost them all. Wow. Cards Speak was what it was called. So we did that, and then Jason said, look, we're going to do a live stream, and you've done the podcast. I want you to be the voice of the live stream. And that's how it started. We said, well, I'll be the voice, but obviously I can't get too into the strategy of poker because I play it for 30 years, but I'm not good at poker.
Or organizing the games.
Or organizing the games.
Which is the hardest part.
It is very hard part.
Yes.
So we said, who can we get that can help us not only curate the games, bring the players to and schedule everything, but also offer some great commentary. And that's where Skull Mike came in. We had done an episode of Card Speak, the podcast. We seemed to click very well during that podcast. And we said, let's get Skull Mike involved. And that's how it started. The original Lodge live stream wasn't really a live stream. It was a 1 hour show. We'd record just like a live stream. Then we'd edit it down to just a few hands and we'd voice it over.
Similar to the high stakes poker episodes that I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with. That's how we got the start. And I was thinking, like, was it a half hour? Was it an hour show?
I think it was an hour.
And I'm really bummed out that we lost all those Card Speak episodes. I was going to go home maybe this evening and listen to that episode with me and you and see the similarities of our conversation probably now and the differences between the two, but they're gone forever.
It's definitely evolved. And, you know, to your credit, I'm not going to say this. I've said this before.
You're
so
you're not I was trash early on, and then I evolved into a pretty good broadcaster.
You have. I mean, you never had any broadcast experience before you came to do this show. And you have definitely evolved into one of the voices that people recognize in poker. I mean, we just celebrated our 700th live stream, your voice, my voice on most of them. And you've really come into your own as a broadcaster. You've come in more as a broadcaster than I have as a poker player. So you've come further along.
I could not have done it without you.
Well,
thank you. Everything that I know in the broadcasting business comes from you. So I appreciate you being my mentor, my buddy, my pal, my punching bag, my therapist. So it's been a pleasure, Rick, and many more streams ahead.
Well, thank you. You know, I remember sitting there, you know, we had a couple milestones and we celebrated them along the road.
Champagne in the bunker, 60 feet below with about at 100 subs?
I think we had 1,000 subs. When we got monetized, when we were eligible to be monetized, when we had 1,000 subs, we popped a bottle of Dom Perignon, you, me, and the old producer.
Yeah, shout out. We can give a shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave Claproth, the original producer of the Lodge. It was just the three of us sitting in a room, back to back. And we popped a bottle of champagne for 1,000 subscribers. And I remember distinctly, Skull, when we got 100 people watching us at one time.
Probably high-fived.
I looked at you and I nudged you with my elbow. I said, look, 100 people.
Yeah.
It was quite a special moment. And we just...
What's our record now? About 15,000 concurrent, I'd say, is right around there was the record so far.
It's been a crazy run, and
15,000.
We grew. You know, Brad, Andrew, and Doug, and the other ownership group came a few years ago, and they really have taken not only the Lodge but the live stream to new heights that we couldn't. But we built it to a 20,000 subscriber before they even got involved. 20,000 subscribers.
So you like to say, well, we had a little bonfire going and they put some gasoline on it that spread it around to the masses and got the fire a little bit out of control. But now it's in control in the best way. That new studio is plenty of people, some of the best players in the game come to the Lodge who've played on the highest of stages, say that they feel the most comfortable and they're most amazed at our setup right here in Austin, Round Rock, Texas.
In a strip mall. We've got a studio that rivals anything out there.
Now we're sitting here in Odds Bar and Bistro, one of the up-and-coming restaurants in Round Rock.
Cheers.
Great food, great beverages. We might have John Green join us, perhaps, maybe for an episode down the road, or maybe even if we can get him for a couple minutes at the end of this, we might throw him in here to talk about the restaurant and what's new, what's up ahead. So amazing that where we're sitting here, it used to be a Blockbuster, a gym, then the little old Lodge. Now we moved next door to the big Lodge, and now we have an extension here to the restaurant. It's just been an amazing journey for these past couple of years.
So we gave you a little history of how we met, the precursor to the Lodge live stream. Let's talk about what you do for the show.
Yeah.
So behind the scenes, in order to have 4 shows a week, you got to have players. And you got to have different games. We do tournaments. We do low stakes, mid stakes, high stakes. We do PLO, heads up, a little bit of everything. And Skull has spearheaded that as, I guess you're the director of the live stream.
My official title is Lodge Live Stream Director. So I kind of wear many hats. Obviously, Rick here is the lead commentator. He bleeds this microphone. He comes into work every day with a smile on his face. He can go hours upon hours. The Energizer Bunny, I don't really know how he does it. But yeah, I'm the Lodge live stream director, so I curate all the players. A lot of people email me. I try not to give out my phone number too often because I don't want my phone kind of blowing up on every hour of the day, and that's what seems to happen regardless. Nobody knows when I'm on vacation or when I'm working. I'm just always working. Putting together players is definitely the hardest part of my job, but also as a director, I'm involved with all the other live streams that are going on amongst the world. I'm always watching, tuning in, enjoying. But I think I have a good grasp on what the fans want to see, so I'll give some thumbnail input. I'll give some titling input. I'm obviously a player deep down in my heart, so I love to get on the felt and battle on the small stakes, mid stakes, high stakes games, whatever I can hop in there. Sometimes there's late minute, cancellations, or there's some early blood on the felt where people get knocked out early. So I'll gladly hop on and play with whoever. Not afraid to battle with the good players. Always enjoy playing with some fish, try to win some big pots. But I'm always excited when I'm playing, and I'm always happy to be a leader amongst the production team and give the cameraman some input on, maybe you should take a shot here, maybe you should do a little bit of this, but try to do it in a professional manner as possible, which all led to us winning one of the live streams of the year amongst the whole world against some heavy hitters. So that was a great honor when we won that a couple months ago.
Definitely. February, we were out in Vegas, and we were up for the third straight year. We were in the final four of the fan favorite Best Live Stream
This year
Award.
felt a little bit different, though, huh? We went out there. It was the first time we actually attended the awards in person.
Yeah.
We were a little bit nervous. I said, maybe, Rick, we got about a 50-50 shot of winning this.
I felt good this year. I felt that we were going to win. I just had that feeling. And still, when they announced us, it was a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
I immediately went back to our first episode when we had 6 people watching, and we were looking at each other and said, are we talking to each other, or are we talking to anybody? Is anybody out there? Hello? Wow. Is anybody out there? And then we won the fan favorite Best Live Stream. And, GPI Awards, a lot of people have different thoughts on it. It's the only thing our industry has. And because it was a fan vote, it was extra special to me.
I totally agree. And it was nice and encouraging that we also won the best hand with Schwan, who we're going to have on an episode here. Yes. You folks will tune into that as well. Brad won the best vlogger. It was a clean sweep for the Lodge family, going 3 for 3 in all the fan voting. So it really gave us that encouragement, really, and belief to start this podcast, knowing that our fans that watch our live streams really love what we produce. So why not take it to the next level and do the show right here from Odds Bar and Bistro?
So let's talk about some of the most memorable games you've put together and maybe memorable moments. I can think back to some of my favorite shows, specifically the tag team shows that we've had.
Yeah.
Recently, we've had community poker. We're calling it Lifeline Poker, where you have one team versus another team, and you can go out and conference with your team. I love that. You've also, we brought the stand-up game, aka the Knit game, to live streams. Yeah. We were the first to ever do that, and it's really, every stream does it now.
Everywhere consistently, yeah.
And they even some of them call it the Knit game, and you came up with the Knit game.
Yeah, that's always feels a little bit special. We work hand in hand. We designed our graphics with our graphics side. We used to use GFX, and now we use RF Poker, and we paid a premium dollar to customize our graphics. And that was also a big part of my responsibilities, to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, form it into our own. But now every time you watch a stream out there, the majority of them are run by RF, so shout out to them. They work extremely hard, those guys over in Atlanta, I believe, where they're based. But anytime a Knit game starts, you see it in the top right corner, Knit game starts. And we designed that title.
That is fantastic. And before we get to our favorite moments, I would like to talk a little bit about our live stream. Obviously everybody knows about the, what happened in the live stream world maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago now over at Stones with the cheating scandal. And then you had the stuff out at Hustler with the Jack 4, Robbie hand. And because we're owned by poker players and game security is of the utmost importance for our live stream. We have taken it to the next level with game security. Of course, not only do we not allow any phones or electronics in the studio, we wand people in and out. But what's I think is the most secure
whole cards
thing,
in the back.
The whole cards in the back. We have a group of production staff. We have somebody working the graphics, somebody working the cameras, and somebody working audio. The person working the graphics does not see any cards until the hand is over.
Anybody in the back.
Nobody sees, but she's working graphics.
Yeah.
Or he. They don't see any whole cards, which is huge, and
Yeah.
we take it very seriously.
We should probably have, Safi on for an episode down the road too. Safi, the great game host that you see on the stream, she's also mainly runs the graphics in the back along with some other people. But I'd be interested to hear her thoughts on the matter. She's such a nice young lady, works extremely hard. Our entire staff.
Oh, yeah, we've got
Baylor,
the best
no
staff.
longer Brendan working with us, but there's so many people in the back.
Maestro Matt Sweeney.
Greg Potter, Chase, Kevin. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Will. Yeah.
Liz.
Yeah.
So just such a great team that makes
Sergio.
it really special to come into work every day.
Yeah, so there's a group of, you got 3 people working camera.
Back to the
audio.
camera thing. We sacrifice some shots
There you
as
go.
the director of the stream, and I'm not always there in the back telling the cameraman, go camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, what a typical director might do. But when I'm back there, I try to give some input on that. But we lose out on a lot of critical shots because some of the other streams out there value that type of production, dare I say, more than game security. That's what it seems. But they get some better shots. They might see when a player makes a bad lay down and that they would have won a massive pot, and they could instantly go to that player's reaction and facial expression, which adds to the show. Like, as a viewer, I want to see that.
You want to see the doom zoom.
I want to see some of that. I want to see whatever shot, that instant moment there that would bring value to the show that you would miss out in this instance. But we made the hard decision to put game security as the number one most important thing. And
so we may miss out on one of those doom
it's
zoom
unfortunate
situations because we don't know that somebody just laid down the nut flush. For instance, the hand of the year. Juan had pocket aces. The kid had the nut flush, flopped the nut flush, ended up folding it, and on the river on a Juan shove. And had we known what his cards were, we could have had a camera just on him the whole
he told
time.
us. He was so tilted. In that moment, he said it right then and there. He stood up. I think he said, this is so fucked. Oh, my God. He showed it to his neighbor, Jake.
Exactly.
But there are plenty of moments every single show that we just don't know because they can't see the cards. And then we can see it when we're commentating, but we're always on a delay a little bit, Rick and I, back in the booth. But when it's live back there for production. But
so before
the players see the cards.
Before we get into favorite hands, one shout out more to the fine people of Chatsville. We got 3 great moderators: Jim Bonix, VW Bug, and Yoda of Chatsville. Chatsville is just the community of people that it's amazing. They're there all the time. We have a great group in chat just having fun, and it's basically a community
from the get-go too. And me and you watch a lot of other YouTube live streams, not even poker, whatever live streams out there, and it's just kind of a cesspool.
Yes,
there's a
it
lot
can get
of
ugly.
People using some profanity, picking on other players, being inappropriate towards women, inappropriate towards maybe some players that might be disabled, overweight, or too political, spam.
Yeah, it
bots.
can get ugly.
And we really have almost none of that from the start. And a lot of that goes to the moderators, the entire community, and what we stand for as a channel. So
and just as much the moderators as the people in chat as well. The people in chat will slap somebody down who gets a little out of line, and I love it. Yeah. So let's get to favorite moments.
I know there's always one that we talk about that comes up into our mind.
Yes.
I'm trying to think it's hard because we're doing this, live, right? We're recording it. I haven't really prepared thoughts. Everyone could say the Bill Perkins hand.
Perkins.
But I wanted something like pre-studio. There's also the moment where we did the high card on the 100K sub moment where you pulled a 3 and I started celebrating Said there's no chance. I was going to throw a pie in your face, and then I ripped the deuce off.
Yep.
And my face melted on that. There were a lot of viewers on that show. That was brutal for me.
What about I think what really got us started, or really early on.
You're talking about the Rampage Mariano game?
Well, the Rampage when...
First punt?
Yes, the punt heard round the world.
Yeah.
And that was a key moment in our stream.
You know what? A lot of moments kind of get forgotten. We remember a lot here in the original, the second or third setup that we had with the blue backdrop and the skyline of Austin.
Yep.
We had that was probably the Bauer moment with the green juice on that hand. That was a great moment that we haven't spoken about in a while.
And that was during a tournament where he had he made aces fold.
Yeah, he was playing heads up for about almost a $500,000 Afriat for about $500,000, and that was some wild heads up hands between the two of them.
There was a hand that I remember King Kai floated, and you had flopped a set.
Rest in peace to King Kai.
Rest in peace to King Kai, but he floated you and ended up.
Everyone always talks about this horseshoe I have up my ass, but all we keep talking about right now are brutal bad beats that yours truly is taken with a smile on his face. Nobody remembers the bad times.
Remember the Nemi hand?
Oh, God. Aces, Kings, set over set in one of the biggest games I played in at the time. The river that costed me about 40 grand. Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Nemi.
Mr. Nemi. So there's been a lot of ones. So
what about when we did the road to the LCS and all of a sudden the camera went over to one Mr. Solomon and he had that avocado popsicle in his face?
Snacks.
And we just lost it.
Yes.
We just started giggling for 10 minutes.
There's been many people who have said, put a camera in the bunker. We want to see y'all interact. There are times, literally, when I almost fell out of my chair one time just in laughter. We have a lot of fun with what we do. But let me ask you this. Is there a player, I have a player in my mind that I want to see back at the Lodge that only played a couple times, but we get asked about this player more than any other player, and that is Tesla. Yeah. Have we heard anything from Tesla? Tesla, if you're out there, when are you coming back?
I've spoken to Tesla a bit recently. It's a complicated subject. There's always some players that take the stream by storm, and especially at the highest of stakes, it's a bit complicated, Rick.
He only played 4 episodes, Skull, and we literally get asked about him every month.
We've had some recent communication. That's about all I can say right now. You're going to have to tune in. Let me know down below in the comments if you want to see Tesla back on a high-stakes stream with Doug, Airball, and the rest of the fellas, and maybe we'll light a fire under my ass to get him back here sooner rather than later.
Of course, we're spoiled. We get Doug, who plays on a lot of streams, and with Doug, he has a lot of friends that he brings in. Anytime we have Bill Perkins in the house.
That's part about Doug playing is we don't usually have to say a whole lot when Doug's playing. Just be quiet for about 10 seconds, and then this is what we do in the bunker.
Exactly, but he brings a lot of people in.
Of course.
One of my favorites is Hook. He's played recently. He'll be on some more high stakes stream, but the high stakes games, it's like we're going to the playoffs, and when a high stakes we plan and we are high and excited on every episode. I bring it strong every episode, but it's when we get to high stakes.
It's a little bit different buzz, a little bit different feeling in the air. Yeah.
And
our biggest pod between PLO Alex, aka Stone Cold Alex, with Doug. Remember that moment well.
So there's been a lot of great moments, and
maybe 2025, the year where we see our first $1 million pot under the lights.
We've been close. I think 707,000 is our all-time record right now, and that was the hand with Doug and PLO Alex. And folks, we just want to appreciate our audience and our fans. We hear from all over the world. Me and Skull will get messages that we'll share with each other. Yeah. And the ones that really touch me are the ones that say, look, I'm not doing very well, but I watch your live stream and it gives me some laughs along the way. And or my favorite all time was, hey, I love poker. My wife doesn't have a clue, but we watch the stream together and we have fun. Those are my favorite comments. Yeah. And it's just
I was on my honeymoon about 2 years ago now. I walk into a casino I was on my honeymoon for about 3-4 weeks. So I took a night off, guys. I went to the casino one night, played a little poker in Copenhagen, Denmark. I walk in, there's only one table going, and the table goes, Skull Mike, what are you doing here in Copenhagen? I said, what? You guys, how do you know who I am? Like, we watched the stream. It's like, wow.
It's truly amazing of how many people watch the stream, and we just thank you. It's very humbling for us when I know I've been recognized mostly by my voice because I don't play nearly as much on the stream, but most people will say, "Hey, your voice sounds familiar. Are you Slick Rick?"
They usually say, "Are you Skull Mike?"
Yeah. They get us mixed up a lot.
A few times.
I have. But Skull, it's been a pleasure, and we're going to continue doing Cards and Cocktails in conjunction with our live stream, and we're going to
try to have all the guests here in person. Maybe down the road we might explore doing some remote interviews, perhaps. Just let us know some of the other people in poker, maybe even out of poker, that you guys want to see on the show, and we'll try to make that a reality for y'all watching.
Yes, and we want to thank our producer Jack, who's helping us out, and Yao, a dealer at the lodge, created our theme song. So if you like the song that leads off every live stream, that was created by one of the dealers here at the lodge.
We're over a 20-minute. We try to keep it 20, 25 minutes, right? We're about. Where are we at, Jack? How many minutes?
30 minutes.
We got to wrap this up.
So everybody, join us. Here, Cards and Cocktails. We'll come up with an episode every 2 weeks. Skull, you got any final comments?
That's it. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Take care.